Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Paul. I noticed, your fastest players seem to be really fast tonight, getting up ice. A lot of their goals, pushing the play down ice. I'm wondering, since you made that switch in the lines, is there something about defensive style players like Stastny and Kopp with Ehlers and Dubois with Scheifele and Connor? Is it something about those players that frees, your speedier players, frees them up to push the pace up ice?
So the theory's right. I don't know that it matches with what happened tonight. But Stas and Kopp, Stas specifically in the middle, and then Andrew kind of those good reads allows Nicky to. Except Nikolai Ehlers was a real good defensive player tonight. I mean, he was hard on the walls. He was physical. I mean, he was good. And then I think what happened with the other line is, that first goal against. They know, right? Mark turns one over inside the line, and then we get beat on a rush, and then they miss a rotation. And so I think they just got angry, and then the killers went out. I mean, the key to our game tonight was our penalty killing. That was the change in momentum. It got us emotionally engaged in the game. We fed off that, and then had the quick strikes right after that. So. But I think I understand what you're saying. I think there's a right idea there. I don't know if it manifests itself because Nick wasn't, pure offense tonight. He scored two big goals for sure, but they're almost, the 5-on-5 goals, an effort goal coming off the line, off a lost draw. And the best part of his game were all the defensive things that he did. And as soon as Scheifele, Connor, and Dubois kind of got a little angry, they started grinding in their own end harder, which opened up those rush plays.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Evening, Paul. You sort of touched on it a little bit, and feel free to tell me if I'm way off with this sort of theory, but in a weird way, I mean, is the best thing that could have happened to your group tonight is to go down early, the adversity with the going down two men. I know you weren't happy about that call, like that you guys did play angry.
Wasn't happy with a bunch of them, but yeah, so there was emotion that got built right into that, right? Like everybody's a little edgy right now. It's 17 at 22, right? We don't have a road game in our time zone. So you're a little fatigued coming into the game and you're a little edgy, but you need almost a starter, a catalyst to bring it out. And I think the calls, the great kill, that was the catalyst to get us a little angry enough, and then it came out, and then we were pretty good.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Paul, you guys have been throwing that number at us a fair bit, the 17 and 22, but you got more road wins than anyone. I mean, could you be a better road team than a home team?
I take that, Paul. I think to be a good road team, a bunch of things. You've got to be smart. You got to be hard. You have to be comfortable, patient, playing a simple game. And that's the game. The road game is the game that's played in the playoffs. So I would take that. I bring that number up for a reason. Somebody told me that it hasn't happened since 1980. A team play that many games after the game, and we don't got a road game in our time zone. So when I looked at the schedule, that block from March 8th to the 19th of April for me was we were either going to sink or swim on that. And maybe what's happened is we found our identity in that. And I fired it out on purpose a lot of times just so people fully appreciate it hasn't been easy, and this team's done a good job.
Go next to Jason Bell from the Free Press. Go ahead, Jason.
Paul Hanela plays tonight, and he doesn't jump off the page, but maybe that's a good thing for his first hockey game. And
Sure.
I don't know if there's any blame there on the Tavares goal or not. You can tell me, but I thought he afforded himself okay. Your assessment?
Yeah. So as I said before, I wasn't going to assess this game one way or the other. That's not him on the goal. So get in, get through it, have enough presence to play your game simply. There's nothing glaring there, which is really good. So he did what he needed to do, right? We know he can get through a game. We'll have opportunities as we go forward here to get him to play more, but it was a good game for him.
I'll go next to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weeb.
Paul, just asking you to go back into the time machine. What do you remember about the first time you saw Nikolai Ehlers, and how different does that player look today?
Oh, the truth. What if I tell you the truth? Okay, so the first time I saw Nikolai Ehlers was on video in a playoff series when he was in Halifax, and oh my God, it was 2.5 minute shifts. I think he got kicked out one of the games by the ref, but dynamic. And, you know, we were just talking about Nikolai, the player that he's developed into, like he's a competitive guy, right? Like he's battling on the walls, he's winning battles, he's throwing hits. He's just competing to win. I think he's having a lot of fun. But what I wish he knew was what the guys on the bench say every time he does that, right? Like that's a guy that can drive you into the game. His back checks, his hits, his battles on the wall. The bench loves that more than, you know, when Laus does it, it's kind of like great hit. But when Nicky does it, you're going, wow, that's awesome. That's special. And the goals are almost secondary. We know he's going to score, but his game now has evolved where you think this guy's a playoff guy now, where 2-3 years ago he was having a hard time, you know, in that heavy environment, and now he looks like he's starting to thrive in it.
And final question, Murat Atesh from The Athletic. Go ahead, Murat.
Hi, Paul. I was about to ask about the PK and Forbert and Pullman and Kopp, but just on that Ehlers thread, you know, he was saying how proud he is to be somebody that people in Denmark can look up to. The hockey world's getting smaller, but there's still places like that where there's a handful of stars. Right. What do you think that means to a guy like that?
Well, he's always carried himself in just a really professional manner, right? Comes kind of from a hockey family, with his dad being a coach over there. And when you watch Nicky around kids or around fans, he's always very giving. And he's got time for people. So what's really brilliant about this is 10 years from now, when he, you know, may end up being highest scoring Danish player, he's going to be a figurehead of the sport in that country. And he's going to be able to do so much for young people there. So that's the great payoff, right? They get a really fantastic ambassador who's valued in Canada and valued in his kind of second country, but he'll get to go home and improve young people's lives because he's that kind of person. So he's a good national treasure.